Hi, this is Lori.
This is Peter.
This is Hamilton.
And this is Ryan.
We're with Action Heroes Olay, the subsidiary of Heroes Character Rental Service. It's been a while. Pandemic is messed up. So we're here. We're back though. We're here to review what just came out on Amazon Prime last week. Coming to America as opposed to coming to America. Okay,
that's coming to America too.
Coming to America. Anyway, so yeah, the return of Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall are back for the sequel 30 years later to Coming to America. So you guys want to share any thoughts? Should we talk about who's in it? It's basically Akeem. He's been married to Lisa for 30 years. They have 3 daughters, but in the kingdom, what was the name of the kingdom again?
Oops. Zamunda.
Zamunda. How could I forget that? My cousin made a beer called Zamunda, something like that, for his brewery. They only can have male heirs. So what he finds out is that he did have a child, a male son, back in Queens when he was courting his wife at the time. So you guys, thoughts coming to America, How do we feel? How did you like it?
Anybody?
I you know what? I've heard people say good and bad things about it. I didn't have huge expectations, and I wasn't really disappointed, but I will say that I was a little surprised how they tried to make it so similar to the original. Like, you know, the humor, it kind of showed that, like, the humor for me, I think it's a little dated, like, because it's so reflective of the original film. Like it was, the original film was a John Landis movie. Excuse me, my voice is messed up. The original film was a John Landis movie, and it seemed like they were trying to, like, mimic that style of humor that he was doing 30 years ago. You know, I thought that was interesting, you know, but I'll let you all chime in on it.
Peter, you want to go next, or we had a long conversation about this after watching it last week, because we watched it together where Peter is in the dark light. Peter,
I was scared for this movie when I heard that they were going to do it. So I guess I went in with low expectations that it wasn't going to really hit, and I guess going in there with low expectations, I absolutely loved the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lori said, we did have a discussion. We were on 2 different sides of. What was the Queen's name?
The Queen. You know, that's right. I missed a chunk of the movie. I probably missed probably about 15 minutes of it because family stuff interrupted. Okay.
But,
Lisa, the mom, the Madge Sinclair, who is the actress who played her in the original movie. She passed away in 1995, so of course she couldn't reprise her role. But in the beginning of the movie, they had a photograph of her, and I think there's definitely a reference to her towards the end of the movie that I had issues with. But because I know I missed about a huge chunk of the movie, that I think she was mentioned again, and the setup for all that started at that point. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed the movie. It did harken back to the original. It had to. It was a sequel, and it was a sequel 30 years past.
In the weekend. I'm just kidding.
So, but I think they went back beautifully. They did connect a lot of things. In reality, let's face it, all 3 of the barbers would probably be dead 30 years later, because they were, I think, in their 60s or 70s then.
Exactly.
You know, what they were supposed to be.
Exactly.
But really, I think they did a really wonderful job. I enjoyed the movie. Um, I have heard and even sought out a lot of negative reviews about it. I think they were, I don't want to say mean, but they hit on points that were, to me, that was just childish. But I enjoyed it. So hey, that was me.
Ryan, do you want to chime in with your thoughts? I know you mentioned you had issues with one scene and I think I have the same issue as that scene. So we can go ahead and well,
Okay.
I'll let you know what you felt. And
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, I didn't have any expectations going into the movie, um, and very much enjoyed it. I was just looking forward to seeing the barbershop crew again. I hadn't considered the age thing. Peter, I think, makes a good point, which I hadn't given that any thought before, but that makes an excellent point. I was glad to see so much and was surprised to see so much of the original cast brought back,
Mhm.
even as they were introducing new characters. Um, so I had a great time. The one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was when they were flashing back to how the character Akeem, Prince Akeem then, first met Leslie Jones's character, and where he's kind of drugged and she sort of sexually assaults him. And I had a flashback to, there was a movie about 2 decades ago called 40 Days and 40 Nights with Josh Hartnett. And there's a similar thing that happens there where his character is drugged and he's basically raped by his ex-girlfriend. And it's played for a joke, like it's kind of here played for a joke. And so I think that was the one thing that it bothered me was that, if the gender roles were reversed, that would never happen. But
That's
here,
funny.
because it's the man that's
Well,
being violated, it's kind of played as a joke.
that would never happen in a movie now.
Mm,
And it bugged me too because I'm like, you know what? Like, I mean, you think back to a movie like 16 Candles where that was played for a joke with the female being the one who was drunk and taken advantage of and that type of humor was prevalent very many years ago and that's the one of the things with this particular movie, like some of the humor you that was okay back then. um they did some things to acknowledge, okay, yeah, this humor isn't okay anymore, and some of it worked, some of it didn't, basically. And that was one of the things I'm like, I kind of cringed about, what was that scene. It's like, oh, I know you want to keep Akeem innocent and that he wasn't fooling around. That's not the kind of guy he was, which I appreciated. But to have it happen that way, it's, but you gotta take it back. It was 30 years ago. You could look at it from that perspective as well. So
I,
So
well,
I was very mixed about this movie. Being a sequel, I was looking forward to everyone, the references of all the characters we've come to know and love. I mean, Coming to America is a comedy classic, and it's particularly a Black culture comedy classic. This movie, there's a lot of, it's kind of a special movie it's like a cult movie among Black people, I would consider, because, I mean, like when one of the Real Housewives of Atlanta designed her whole wedding based on some of the scenes from this movie. That's what kind of movie. I mean, everybody can quote lines from this one. And so I was looking forward to seeing a lot of those characters come back. Some of them worked really well, some of them didn't. The old guys, the humor among them just didn't, felt really stale and was
What you
not,
talking about?
I didn't
My
find it too.
brownstone at work, $3 million, $10 million.
And some things, I
exactly.
found things that did work were the stuff they brought back, um, but they elevated it to the next level. I think of in the beginning of this movie, Akeem's dad, James Earl Jones, he wants his funeral now while he's still alive, and I love that reference. It's like giving you your flowers while you're here, um, and it's a fabulous thing. They do the whole dance scenes. It's like the whole wedding. It's that the singing, and they brought out Gladys Knight, which I don't know. I'm a huge Gladys Knight fan, so I was real happy with that. But it was a beautiful. It was beautiful. They took the original segment from the beginning of the old movie and kind of elevated it in a different way. And that's the stuff that worked for me. And I was disappointed that they didn't do that for everything. You kind of have to do that. I feel like when you're coming back with a sequel, especially one so many years later, is you got to take the humor that you were able to get away with then and just pass off and just like really kind of give it a little more, be more take more care with it that it's as funny as it can be.
Well, I
So
tell you, when the king died, I stopped growing hair. That's it.
Your hairline receded and everything.
Yeah, I just said that's it.
I think I got
No
it for
more
you.
vacations, no more hair.
Well, I wanted to say, y'all, I just thought it was interesting because people were talking. We were talking earlier about Eric LaSalle, his character not coming back,
Oh,
Daryl.
that's right. The people who didn't come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it
I,
was good that he didn't come back because, quite frankly, the whole Jerry Curl thing wouldn't really have the same kind of relevance now from most people. I don't think, especially
but
people
they
who didn't
had
grow up in that era. You know,
they had a funny comeback for him. It was kind of obvious comeback. It's like he lost the what they were going to do is now he's lost all his hair and he's selling a product called Soul Grow. So, so yeah, I missed that. That's you missed him coming back. We missed Lisa's sister was not in the movie, and I'm not sure
Yeah,
why. But do you remember
Allison
why Eric
Lee.
was out? Oh, you have the actress name. Thank you, Peter, because I didn't have a chance to look it up. Do you know why the sister didn't come back? Did you say?
Uh, the only thing I can find is that she is still acting, but sparsely. But this was filmed in 19 in August of
2009, probably.
2019,
Yeah.
and she was also filming something else.
Oh, she had
So
schedule conflict.
the sketch
I
sketch
mean,
such a conflicts, but I don't
no,
know.
yeah, yeah. I was wondering. It's like maybe they didn't want to bring her back because they needed to fit in the Leslie Jones character to bring the story up to date. I can see that being the case, but I mean, they brought the twins back, you know,
Oh, that was
Right.
funny.
which I thought was
The
great.
best thing, and
Well,
people, if
spoiler.
you haven't seen it yet, Peaches and her sister is back. They are back. But what I really, it wasn't so much that they were back. That
Mhm.
was good. That was good. What was the best to me was that when they switched to Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, the look on their face was the same as before, and it was just great.
you know,
I wanted to add, y'all, like,
mhm.
for people who were disappointed, I just think, we're all at home with our families during the pandemic. Like, honestly, like, for example, my mom, I, I, I have to be careful the kind of movies I pick or whatever because she doesn't like a lot of like vulgarity and violence and stuff. And so, like, a month or so ago, my mom saw Coming to America, the original, on VH1 for the first time. She had never seen it. And so it was one of those things where we could just sit and watch this movie together and enjoy it and have fun. And, and then from there, I was even able to introduce her to Trading Places. So for me, it was just a chance to be able to, like,
Yeah,
rewatch this movie together too, to have fun at home with my family, and I think that's what it is for a lot of people. I don't think it's more serious than that. I don't think people should get butt hurt if it wasn't what they wanted it to be. I think that you, for a movie like this, you shouldn't you shouldn't have your expectations too high. I don't know who
Yeah.
does that. You know, like who goes into the original Coming to America and says, "Oh well, it didn't live up to my expectations. It's just a silly movie," you know. So I wanted to add that because that's what I don't understand about the criticisms
Well,
of the
I will go in because you guys had low expectations. I was kind of hoping for a little more because what you have Eddie Murphy and Wesley Snipes is also in this. And they were so great. And Dolomite is my name. Is that right?
right,
Yeah.
And they were bringing back from that movie, you had the director and the writer. And I thought they did such a wonderful job with that movie. I'm like, okay, maybe they'll be able to you know, take this sequel and kind of make it not fall into that sequel trap because with the humor they did so well in that previous movie, but it does fall in the sequel trap, you know.
Well,
Uh,
but
it
it
does. It
almost
does.
has to because you're handcuffed to that first one. You're handcuffed.
Well, I mean, that's our argument was like, well, I said I understand being handcuffed. I wanted to see those characters back and some of the humor, but I think you needed to be elevated. And Hamilton and I had a discussion. I talked about Key and Peele, which those guys, I love them because they would take like what's the obvious joke about the situation, but they would find all these different new angles and
Right.
But I
extremes and
thought
stuff
they
like that.
did.
So it wasn't just the whole obvious thing. They would push it to as far as they could go.
Right.
So even when
Right.
it got
That's true.
absurd, but they would find different angles to the humor. Like it's
That's
like, oh
true.
yeah, I could, substitute teacher. I brought up, that's a kind of obvious things like the black substitute teacher goes to the white school and starts mispronouncing their names. But the way they built that skit is just they got the most they could out of that concept
Right.
to
Right.
the
That's a good
level
point.
that yeah. So and this is what I was hoping from this movie, and I was hoping too much, I know. But
Well, you mentioned Wesley Snipes. I'm a Wesley Snipes fan, and I think he was great. I mean, he looked like to me like he was having some of the most fun of
yeah,
any
he
of
was
the
Oh
that.
yeah.
people in the film. And I just like watching the characters in this movie interact. But I mean, yeah, I agree with everything. It's not perfect. It does fall prey to
Well,
the
do
sequel
do
trap.
you know that Wesley Snipe was supposed to play Daryl in the first one?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
he had tried out.
he would have been
Oh,
good though,
He
actually.
he,
But
he had tried out. He was going against Eric LaSalle.
oh, Ryan dropped,
that's
I think, from us.
ooh,
Well, Ryan,
that's
I lost you. So go ahead. I'll message him to get him back to let him know you
right,
dropped.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was supposed to be in the first. I absolutely loved Wesley Snipes in this one, especially when they were doing that Prince song and he was in the back. And when I said, "Oh, he he really looked like he was enjoying himself."
Yeah, for sure. And I mean that's what I think the spirit of the movie is let's have fun. You know, we're at home. It's not all like sadness. It's fun. Let's have fun. Let's laugh. That's how I took it.
Yeah,
So
I was coming back together and, you know, just being together again like that. That's really cool. Cool. And I was looking forward to that. I mean, there's some scenes like the funeral with the Gladys Knight. Get off. I would when they started that scene was fantastic. Of course, and we love Prince. I love Prince anyway, but I could not believe they started that song and I didn't recognize. I'm like, I know that song. What is that?
right, right, right. I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to
Well,
have his
when
bone
they
and
first
salt
came in
for
with the
breakfast?
drums, it was that song, and I was going, "Did they just do the drums and that okay?" Oh, and then when they started, and I was like, "No, that's Get Off." And then when they did the flutes, I was like, "Oh, that's it."
So
No,
I, yeah.
I don't know if Ryan's coming back, but
Yeah, he said his computer crashed and he's going to log back on. Okay.
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 So we'll get him back to joining. So, yeah, I love that scene. I thought like when they had those like big production numbers with the dancers and all that. It was,
Right.
it could go wrong. It was, and those are the ones they elevated, like bringing Get Off in. You had the same guy. I can't remember his name. He came out and with the singing and the high pitched voice when he's singing Get Off this time. That's what I mean. You're giving it a new angle. That same humor and that familiarity, but you're giving it a new angle. And
But I wondered about it when the mother, what's her name, Leslie Jones,
uh-huh.
she grabs her son and she goes, "You know this song. Go put some purple on it." And I wonder if that was they couldn't get permission to say the name.
Oh, okay.
Or if she was just saying, "Go put some purple on it," and
I've seen that. I've seen that. Like I was driving home last night and I saw on Century there's a hotel and they have a picture of what's supposed to be the stadium up down the street from the Rams stadium.
Yeah.
But it's the stadium that was supposed to be built in like Carson. And I thought about it. It was like, oh, they didn't want to put the image of the actual stadium because they would probably get sued or whatever. So it's like you said, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened, Peter.
Could be a clearance issue or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's but that was fun. Another surprise and spoiler alert, that the biggest laugh I got was when Trevor Noah popped up as a news broadcaster. I just
That's why he grew his afro out like that, I guess. Supposed to be in Zamunda.
Mustache. It was perfect. I was like, oh, that's a perfect addition to this, like somebody, Trevor Noah coming in. Oh, here's Ryan. Hey, Ryan's back. So we were just talking about a couple scenes that we liked. I liked the when the Wesley Snipes presented his daughter. She came into the Prince's "Get Off" his song. So of course I love that. We all love that because we're big Prince. The three of us are big Prince fans. I'm not sure how big if you're,
I'm not a Prince fan. I think everyone's a Prince fan.
Right now, isn't it? But also, I mentioned the biggest laugh I got from the whole movie was Trevor Noah's cameo as the newscaster. I love that.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. That's funny.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is the rape of Akeem. Cringeworthy. The barbershop guy.
I didn't like that either. Yo. I wanted to mention that when Ryan mentioned, I didn't like that scene either. I thought it was like, really, you would forget something like that, really? Like, and you have a son out of that?
Laughed of
Well,
weed.
if you had shared the herbs, yes, you could have forgot about it.
Maybe.
Because
then he suddenly remembered.
Remember this, what did they call it? Not a rhino, but
he was hallucinating what was going on.
He thought a wild boar.
And that was never his. That's not what he ever wanted to do. That's kind of so. I don't know how to say that. No Soul Glow. We mentioned Eric LaSalle decided not to return to the movie. They did have a funny concept for him to reappear, and which was too bad. But they had so many callbacks that I didn't even think about it till like it was mentioned. I was like, oh, he was missing, or that person was missing.
I also heard there could have been they didn't exactly know how to do it. That Daryl and Patrice, did they get married? Because remember, at the end of the last movie, he crawled through the window.
Mm-hmm.
And, wow. Yeah, so, they have some kids,
they ran off somewhere and are not in the movie. Yeah. So, and I don't know, like the barbershop guys had a hard time finding them funny this time around. And at the end of like their last scene, I think Eddie Murphy, as the main old guy, says something like he got his. It was a Me Too joke about he got all his inappropriate touching done back in the old days, which I kind of cringed to too. It's like I know. didn't quite work for me as a joke. So
Yeah.
it was like, still a little too insensitive. Um, so, want to wrap this up? Any other thoughts? Let's talk about the big ending.
Well, first I gotta hear Ryan's thoughts.
Oh, in regards to the ending of the film, or
The
Just
whole
the
Any,
film in
any
general,
other?
I think, because you came from a different generation after
yeah,
you grew up after the original film was
yeah.
already
Well,
released and stuff.
That was
I
on
enjoyed
cable.
it. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the original many times on TV. I can't remember if I saw it in the theaters or not as a kid, so long ago. But I've always loved it. Whenever it comes on TV, it's nice to have on in the background. You know, it's just it's like you guys were saying, it's kind of a cult classic, and
Mhm.
it has a warm-hearted feel to it. So that's why it never occurred to me that they would make a sequel. But to come back to it and see so much of the cast brought back, it was almost at every other scene there was another, Easter egg surprise.
Mhm.
Uh, it's like, oh, I remember him or I remember her. I mean, even down to the princess he was first engaged to. Yeah, still barking all these
Yeah.
years later.
What? Which? Yeah, that's you have to bring it back barking, but that they didn't give her much more to do than that was kind of disappointing to me. She didn't have much to do in the first film, and I get it. But then they brought in Wesley Snipes plays her brother apparently, and he has a daughter who kind of takes upon that role of being whatever a person's wish for, just like has no
Right.
desires or wants for herself, but she's conditioned and trained to just please her man, basically.
I
And
wish I could
so,
work. That would be great.
let's see. God, I'm not even going to follow up that. I did, Peter. Let's go one last thing because the Madge Sinclair who played Akeem's mother passed away. Of course, couldn't return. She becomes an important reference point and a turn for the story that I had a problem with because I'm like, okay, they didn't build that up enough for. I mean, there's a lot of things I felt when you get to the storyline beyond the nostalgic humor. Does the storyline work? Does it? And we had that discussion. So this turn happens, and I'm like, they didn't lay the groundwork for that to be convincing. And there's a lot of things I felt they didn't lay the groundwork for to be convincing for the character's story arc. And I'm getting way too deep into this movie than I probably should. But I will concede I did miss a chunk of that movie, and a chunk of it was when they talked about Akeem's mother and her being like independent and and so.
And the smartest person there.
Oh, okay. So I totally missed that. Kiss up to women, you guys. That's what you got to do nowadays in movies. You got to swick up to
Exactly.
women. so yeah, we had a debate that we kind of want is like if beyond you should I think you should see this movie if you've loved the first one to see all the callbacks and enjoy those and all the Easter eggs and just revisiting those characters again. But when you take all that away, does the storyline hold up? Maybe not. Maybe not so strong.
I
And
don't know. You know what? I can't erase the memory of the first one. So the
yeah,
second one, I loved it. I loved all the callbacks. Um, I just love the whole movie. And one day we'll have to sit down and talk about the male being raped thing. That's a real thing. And
I
okay,
would just say,
it's fun.
like I said already, don't take this too seriously. It's not like
right.
there's going to be a coming to America 3 or a TV show. It's just, it was done for
No,
fun. It was,
are they owned by Disney?
yeah, exactly. Good point.
I tell you, the Eddie Murphy in an interview did say
That's
that
funny.
there had not been a sequel because the way they ended the first movie, there was not to be a sequel.
Mhm.
Uh, Lisa and
Hakeem.
Hakeem were going off, into that great
And then
once upon a
sunset.
time, type of thing. But you know, as Hollywood would do and studios would do, we're losing money. Please, you have to do this.
I thought they do. I thought just with the success of Dolomite, the Dolomite movie, they thought, let's do Coming to America too. It'd be fun. I kind of like the first movie is very much based on, you could tell what Eddie Murphy was going through at the time in his life, being a huge star, being rich is like the prime of his career, and probably his relationships were just women coming at him who just wanted him for his fame and money, and so it
Well, then,
so it
are we going to look forward to an Airplane 2?
I think there's already been an Airplane 2.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure there is too. So yeah, I like the idea that they did this 30 years later. I was looking forward to it. I had a lot of fun. I don't know, I know I won't find it as rewatchable as the first one. I can't see myself sitting down when it's on back in the background on cable, kind of reliving these humorous moments as much. But it's definitely worth a first watch if you love the movie. You definitely need to watch it and just have fun.
It's on Amazon Prime. It's not like you paid $15 to go see this movie in the theater or
It is
something.
on Amazon Prime. Almost everybody's back, and especially the end. Spoiler alert: who comes back? Big finale of this movie. So worth it. I'm glad they waited to the end to bring Randy and Sexual Chocolate back. Sexual Chocolate.
That boy good.
Sexual Chocolate. So I hope you don't get spoiled, because you knew that was coming. I'm glad they did. They gave it like the end to bring them back. It was perfect. So anybody else? That's it. That's Coming to America. Amazon Prime. Check it out. Let us know what you think in the comments. We out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We out. Hopefully this recorded.
I know, huh? I know. It was sucking.
We'll see in a minute. Oh, I gotta get. Bye, guys. That was good.